For Sentinel.com, this is Ira Winderman with your latest Ask Ira Miami Heat mailbag. Our first question today comes from Paul in Fort Lauderdale, who asks if the influx of money was to blame for having players with less experience, like Tyler Johnson, winding up this offseason with greater contracts than players like Dwyane Wade. Paul, it was complex. The one thing I would not overstate is the new salary cap and how it impacted Kevin Durant creating a super team with the Golden State Warriors. That could have happened even under the previous salary cap. But I will say this. I think this was a case this offseason of the NBA and its teams mismanaging the huge jump in the salary cap. I think you wound up seeing younger players getting longer-term contracts at bigger money, and maybe players like Dwyane Wade and others sort of paying the price for that. I also think the NBA has an issue with its maximum salaries, that if you didn't limit the top-end salaries and still kept a salary cap, you probably wouldn't have as many mega teams because if players were earning $35, $40, $50, even $60 million, for someone like LeBron James, the talent would be better spaced around the league, and the secondary players might be able to fit in a little bit more than the way it happened. As it is, remember, both the union and the players, well actually the players and the league, can opt out of the collective bargaining agreement by December 15th. That could lead the NBA's gluttony of July 2016 into a blackout in November of 2017 with an NBA lockout. Our second question comes from Bruce in Boca Raton, who said, why was Hassan Whiteside so willing to give up money for Kevin Durant but not Dwyane Wade? Look, Bruce, this has been overstated. What happened was this. Hassan Whiteside, during his negotiation, said if the Heat can land both Kevin Durant and bring back Dwyane Wade, he'd be willing to give up money, apparently about $9 million. However, once the Durant deal fell through, there was no need to have to stress that amount of money given up. It wasn't a case of holding back against Dwyane. In fact, if Durant and Dwyane both would have wound up coming to the Heat, Durant basically would have gotten the maximum, and money given up by Hassan essentially would have gone to Dwyane. So I think this whole thing has been overstated. The fact that Hassan Whiteside was willing to play along and give up $9 million speaks to what the Heat has been talking about when it comes about Heat players sacrificing for other Heat players. And our last question comes from John in Unicoi, Tennessee, who says, was the whole feud with Dwyane Wade between Dwyane and Pat Riley something that'll tarnish the Heat and tarnish Pat Riley going forward? And I think that's been overstated also. The one thing we've seen in this league, an owner like Dan Gilbert, the way he treated LeBron James on the way out the door the first time, and yet Cleveland still was able to re-sign Kevin Love, re-sign Kyrie Irving. You have a team like the New York Knicks, and for all their struggles, they still are able to at least talk to free agents, bring in players, get someone at least short-term like Amari Stoudemire and other players in recent years. The one thing about the NBA is if you have the money, someone will listen. And the one thing about someone like Pat Riley, when you have 3 championship rings with the Heat are still viewed as a championship organization. It was a rough summer for Riley, but I don't think his legend was necessarily tarnished. Those are today's 3 questions. We'll be back tomorrow with 3 more. For SunSentinel.com, this is Ira Winderman.